Welcome back to our channel Skill Up with 10. This video is third part of the exam prep series Azure Fundamentals AZ 900 exam. So we recently discussed about the different products and services that we get from Microsoft Azure as part of the compute offering. So we might get a few questions like how we are going to discuss now in real exam. So we might have to test our understanding of each of the Azure compute related products and services. So let's go and see some sample questions on how we might get it in the exam. So we might have to differentiate what are these different services are providing us as a kind of offering. So the first one, Azure Functions, right? We have discussed about it. So this is a kind of serverless compute offering where the Azure Functions can trigger the application code or the automation code when there is an event happening. So when there is a new file coming in or when there is a new activity or event happening, this Azure Functions can help us to run the application code or the code pertaining to an automation without we having to provision our virtual machine or operating system or underlying infrastructure. So Azure Function, it provides a platform for executing the serverless code. So we can just drag and drop it here. So in the exam, you might have to drag and drop to the answer area. So Azure Application Service, this is used for developing the web application, mobile application for any platform or any device, right? And you can connect to the data from anywhere, from the cloud or from the on-premises. So app services includes the web and mobile capabilities that were previously part of the Azure websites or Azure mobile services. Now Azure App Service, it is going to provide you the platform to build, deploy, and scale web application. So we might have to drag and drop this to here, Azure App Service. So the next one is Azure Virtual Machine. You know, this is the virtualization at the operating system level. We have the virtual machine created for us. So this provides you operating system virtualization. So where is the last one we have got is container instance. So you know that with container, we generally package, deploy, and manage the cloud application. And Azure Container Instance is the offering through which you can deploy the applications, containerized application in the fastest and simplest way. So Azure Container Service, Container Instance is the platform where you can get a lot of significant startup benefit, and you can start the Azure containers in seconds, and you don't have to provision any kind of VMs or nothing is needed. So it's like a Docker as a service where you can just directly go and deploy your containerized or virtualized application. So the answer is Azure Container Instances. So let's move on to the next question. The company would like to develop a cloud solution by making use of Azure Government. Azure Government can only be used by certain type of client to develop cloud solutions. So we are aware of that, right? So Azure has got multiple different cloud options. One of them is Azure Azure US Government Cloud, where it is mainly used by the government entities, government contractors in the United States, right? And similarly, Azure has got a separate private cloud or a community cloud in Azure China, Azure Germany, and so on. So which of the following are the types of customers that can make use of the Azure government in this situation? So a government contractor from any country. So these are the options that we have got. So this cannot be used by any country because it is restricted only to be used by the US government based contractors and the government entity. A government entity from any country. So this is also a wrong answer. An European government contractor. No, this is also a wrong answer. So this particular question, I think a United States government contractor, yeah, they are definitely eligible for United States government contractors. So they are definitely eligible to use this particular, make use of the Azure government cloud. And the second option is an United States government entity. So definitely the government entity can definitely make use of the Azure US government cloud, right? So this is a very pretty straightforward option. And Azure web application is running on Azure platform. So it is clearly stated that it is an Azure web application. The front end is on Azure platform and it is trying to query the on-premises Microsoft SQL Server. So it is going to access the database hosted on the on-premises. So they're asking us, what is this combination called? So this combination is called hybrid cloud. Okay, so it's a mix of the front end in public cloud Azure, and the back end is in database, because the data is very sensitive, and we have to host it on the premises in many of the customer environment. So this model is called hybrid environment model or hybrid cloud model. So here, this question talks about the company has an on-premises network that contains multiple server, fine, and they are telling like they are currently doing a lot of administrative work like backing up, fixing the issues on the failed hardware. They are taking care of the physical server security, updating the operating systems, and so on. So they are trying to migrate the virtual machines or the Azure the servers to Azure VMs. Okay, so this is the first thing that they are doing. You need to identify which administrative responsibilities will be eliminated after we migrate to Microsoft Azure Virtual Machine. So that is what they are trying to understand. So they are currently doing these tasks in their on-premises data center, and they are asking us what are the different stuffs that will go out of the customer's responsibility when we migrate our VMs to Azure Virtual Machine. So replacing the failed server hardware after migration to Azure VM, yeah, this will be Microsoft responsibility. So they are providing you the services. So anything at the infrastructure level, because this is infrastructure as a service, right? Azure Virtual Machine is nothing but infrastructure as a service. So infrastructure as a service means the underlying infrastructure, right? Your the data center level of server related activities, or anything to do with the physical data center, it is being serviced by Microsoft, and that's why it is called as infrastructure as a service. So backing up application data. So at the application layer, Microsoft have no control over the application you run on the virtual machine. So it is customer's responsibility. So whoever is running the application, so the customer has to take care of the application backup. Managing physical server security, yeah, definitely the physical servers security is being handled by Microsoft, so we don't have to really worry about the physical server level security. Updating the server operating system, yeah, definitely customer has the access. They have to take care of the OS upgrade or the OS updates on a regular basis. Like if it is Windows, we do it on a monthly basis. Managing permissions to shared documents, definitely like this is going to be uh, the permissions will generally be taken care by the customer, right? So they have asked us to choose two responsibilities that will be taken away from the customer. So yeah, this opportunity is going to Microsoft, so we can eliminate this particular administrative responsibility from the customer. And the second thing is like managing the physical server security can also be eliminated after we migrate to Azure VM. So these two options will be taken care by Microsoft after we migrate the server to Azure VM. You plan to provision infrastructure as a service resources in Azure. Which resource is an example of infrastructure as a service? So Azure Web App is an example of platform as a service. So this is not the right answer. Azure Virtual Machine is an example of infrastructure as a service. So this could be the right answer. And an Azure Logic App, yeah, definitely it is platform as a service. And Azure Database, again, it is also a platform as a service offering. So the answer is Azure Virtual Machine is the right answer. So these are all not correct because they are all platform as a service offering from Microsoft. So they have asked us to choose the infrastructure as a service resource in this particular list of options. So the next question is, okay, I've got two questions. The questions might come in a different format. Like they might ask which service provides serverless computing in Azure. In other words, they might ask which of the following runs application code in Azure without requiring a server. So both of them are talking about serverless. So the answer should be Azure Functions, right? Without even looking at the list of options, we can decide on this particular thing. But still, like we have to check the Azure VM. Yeah, we need to take care of the virtual machine. So it is not the right answer. In Azure Storage account also, it is infrastructure as a service. We need to take care of the infra and sorry, the storage. And Azure dedicated host, yeah, we need to take care of the server here also. So answer is Azure Function. So in exam, the question might be in different format. They might ask without requiring a server or provide serverless computing. So both of them corresponds to the same answer. To complete the sentence, select the appropriate option in the answer area. So you have to go and select the answer from the drop-down menu. When you need to delegate permission to several Azure virtual machines simultaneously, you must deploy the Azure. So you are planning to deploy multiple Azure virtual machines in Azure platform, and when you want to delegate permission to all of them together, it is good to combine them. Okay, so if you are combining them in the same Azure region, so we are just adding it in the location. That doesn't help us to delegate the permission initially. So the next option is by using the same Azure Resource Manager template. So we can standardize and create the same size, set of configurations, or we can follow the same set of standards when you are deploying it through the template, but it is not going to help us with delegating the permission. So if we are deploying it to the same resource group, yeah, that can help us to get the permissions sorted out in a easier way. So to the same resource group should be the right answer in this particular question. So the next one, if you are putting it in the same availability zone, means you are creating the server in the same data center. That doesn't help us to delegate the permission in an easier way, right? So the next question is you need to be notified when Microsoft plans to perform maintenance that can affect the resources deployed to an Azure subscription. Yeah, this is a pretty straightforward question. So if you log into your Azure platform and if you go to Service Health dashboard, you can see there is a menu called Plan Maintenance. So this is where Microsoft will alert us when there is a performance when they are performing the maintenance on their data center. So the answer is Azure Service Health is the right option, where Microsoft will notify us if there is a planned maintenance in the data center. And you have to look at if there is any communication I mean about the outages or planned maintenance activities or any other health advisories under the service health experience. This is where you get to know about the services and resources we are currently using, and it will which are the ones which will get impacted when Microsoft is doing a planned maintenance. So service health is the right answer. So we have discussed multiple questions similar to this. So there are certain series of questions that you might expect in Azure fundamental exam, and these questions you have to answer it there only, because you cannot go and review them later, and you will not get option to review to return to it. So try to answer the series of questions in that particular time itself. You will not get a option to review those again. Okay, you will not be able to return to those questions in the review section. Okay, so let's see. Your company plans to migrate all of its data and resources to Azure. So the company's migration plan states that only platform as a service solution must be used in the solution, is what they're asking. So let's go and eliminate some of them. So Azure virtual machine is a infrastructure as a service, so this cannot be a right answer. And Azure storage account is again infrastructure as a service. It cannot be a right answer. So Azure VM again infrastructure as a service, not right answer. Azure storage account is also infrastructure as a service, not right answer. So these are the two services which are definitely under falling under your platform as a service. So you can select this as yes. So this does meet the goal where the customer can migrate and use only PaaS offering. So this does not meet the goal, this does not meet the goal, and even this does not meet the goal of platform as a service. So similar question, your company's developers intend to deploy a large number of custom virtual machines on a weekly basis. They will also be removing these virtual machines during the same week it was deployed. Okay, so this is like more or like developers, they want to create a lot of virtual machines which are custom in nature, and they want to remove it immediately the same week. They are not planning to run it for a longer time, and they're saying the 60% of the VMs are Windows 2016 and the rest 40% are Ubuntu Linux, right? So we have to give them the option which helps them to reduce the administrative effort, and they also want a particular solution which can be much appropriate. See, generally Azure reserved instances are recommended for the systems or application that you want to run for a longer duration, like for 1 year or 3 year or more with the Microsoft Azure. So this is not going to help us with this particular requirement. You recommend the use of Azure Dev Test Lab. It looks like a good answer because this is like more developers want to create some VMs and then they want to delete, create and remove them immediately, right? So this can be a good option. And again, Azure Dev Test Lab, it provides you a lot of options like pre-configured bases. You can also use ARM templates, and there are a lot of options, reusable templates and artifacts that you can use for quickly provisioning the Windows and Linux environment. It is much quicker to deploy in Dev Test Lab. Plus, you also have an option to integrate with the deployment pipeline, so that can also provision the on-demand environments very quickly. So this is going to help you. And Microsoft Managed Desktops is more or less a kind of VDI solution, desktop solution. So it is not going to help us here. And we also have this Azure Virtual Machine Scale Set. This is auto scaling. So auto scaling is helpful for adding more machines and reducing them when the demand is increasing and when the demand is decreasing. So it will automatically scale out and scale in the virtual machine. So the question here is they want to have some development VMs. The developers want to have some custom VMs created on a weekly basis and they want to remove it immediately. So Azure Dev Test Lab only looks like a good choice here. So it's almost the same question. So a team of developers, they want to deploy and remove 50 custom virtual machines on on an immediate basis. So definitely Azure Dev Test Lab is the right option. So you might also get it in the series of questions, the same question, or you might also get it in a multiple choice like that. You attempt to create several managed Microsoft SQL Server instances in an Azure environment, and you receive a message that you must increase your Azure subscription limit. So whenever we are reaching the limits of the subscription or any particular resource stuff, we have to create a support request with Microsoft. So they will help us to increase the limit and allow us to create more systems there, right? So the other options are like this is for creating a health alert when there is any service related issues, or you generally go and upgrade your support plan if you are expecting better support SLA from Microsoft, or if you are expecting better architectural support or better resolution response SLA, you go for a higher plan. But here it's just about increasing the limit where we are not able to create SQL Server instances in Azure environment, and we can go and create a support request. If an Azure virtual machine has a stopped state, as a state of stopped deallocated status, then you will continue to pay for which of the following. Yeah, so when the virtual machine is already stopped and deallocated, you don't have to pay for CPU memory, so compute capacity is not the right answer. And you don't have to pay for the networking because the system is already down and there won't be any networking traffic. And when the system is down, there won't be any there won't be any IO operations also, so we are good there. So only storage is the option where you have to continue to pay because you are occupying their data center storage, and for the capacity you are consuming, you have to pay per GB, right? So storage cost will continue to be applicable even when the virtual machine is in stopped state. For each of the following statement, you have to select yes or no based on the statements. Okay, so let's go and read the statement. Azure Virtual Desktop Sessions host can run 20 Windows 10 only. No, it's not the case. You can run Windows 10, you can run Windows 11, you can also have Windows Server operating system also. So this is not the right statement. Azure Virtual Desktop host um, pool that include 20 session hosts support a maximum of 20 simultaneous. No, you can have multiple sessions, multi-user, so each host can have more than one or two users. So it's not like 1:1. So this is also not the right answer, the right statement. Azure Virtual Desktop support desktop and app virtualization. Yeah, that is correct. So you can also do a VDI solution, as well as you can also have a application virtualization on Azure Virtual Desktop, AVD. You have an Azure environment that contains 10 applications, a 10 web application. To which URL should you connect to manage all the Azure resources? So to manage Azure resources, you have to log into portal.azure.com. So some people will say www.azure.com. So that is not the right answer. So it's a tricky question, but it's a straightforward question as well. If you are regularly logging into Azure platform, Azure portal for managing Azure resources, you might have already got familiar. It is https portal.azure.com. So you have to select portal in the first drop down and Azure in the second drop down. Hotspot. To complete the sentence, select the appropriate option in the answer area. So you can access the compliance manager. So it is called Purview. So you can access it from the Azure portal itself. So the answer is Azure portal is the right answer, and you can access it from access the compliance manager from Azure portal. So thank you for listening.